Hello guys, welcome back. Now today, I'm going to be asking the question, is Auston Matthews better than Connor McDavid? Now of course, we're a week into the NHL season. In the last couple of days, we've seen a bit of crazy hot takes recently, especially on Twitter. We've seen some articles from different, of course, sources saying that, you know, maybe Auston Matthews could be better than Connor McDavid, and maybe he is better than Connor McDavid, and that sparked a huge controversy across Twitter, across YouTube, and pretty much everywhere that talks hockey about if Auston Matthews is actually better than Connor McDavid, which, of course, looking at it, is a preposterous question. Now, to me, my opinion is pretty clear. I think Connor McDavid is the way better player, and I think he's the best player by far on the earth right now. And to me, it's hard to relate to these people. I think Auston Matthews might be better than Connor McDavid. It's just, to me, I see no other player on this planet that is better than Connor McDavid. I just don't see that whatsoever. But again, there are people thinking this right now, that Auston Matthews is better than Connor McDavid. So to me, it really will be a hard thing to get into their minds and to see why they actually think that. And why do they actually think that? Why do they think in their head that Auston Matthews is better than Connor McDavid? It seems crazy, right? Well, let's start by talking about his season so far. With Auston Matthews, of course, he's leading in goals by a big margin. He has 9 goals so far. The second player is his teammate, John Tavares, with 6 goals. So right now, he's dominating with the goals. He's been amazing so far, and so far, he's been breaking records. So right now, he is the best player in the NHL this season. So far, he's had a fantastic season and will continue to be that way. Now, he's also tied in points with his teammate Morgan Rielly. Now, I think Morgan Rielly does have the edge there because I think he has, or you could go Auston Matthews because he has more goals, but they're practically tied for points, so they're both #1 right now, but he also leads in points. So right now, he's the dominator in the offensive categories in both goals, points, and while he hasn't gotten the most assists, he still has 3 in, 5 games? That's pretty solid. Now, whether you have Auston Matthews the best player in the world, whether you have Connor McDavid in the best player in the world, you can't deny one thing. Auston Matthews has had an amazing first week in the NHL season, and so far, he's been the best player in this NHL season. Now, there comes with some asterisks to that, of course. The Toronto Maple Leafs are only one of 2 teams to play 5 games so far. I think the San Jose Sharks are the other team. So far, he's had a great margin because, of course, he's playing a lot more games than, let's say, Connor McDavid, who has only played 2. And while he has played 5 games more than anybody else, I think he deserves to be the #1 point guy just because of how well he's played in these games. I mean, 9 goals in 5 games is straight amazing to start out. And while we've seen those numbers before in the last decade, it's fantastic numbers to be representative of. And for the Toronto Maple Leafs, their offense has been straight lethal, and Auston Matthews has been a big part of that. And for the Toronto Maple Leafs, their offense has just been straight amazing with Auston Matthews, of course, leading the charge there. But of course, they got Morgan Rielly on the back end, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, and maybe soon William Nylander still on that team. The offense could get even better, and right now, while it may not sustain both Auston Matthews' numbers and the Toronto Maple Leafs numbers, they've been scoring goals in bunches. In the next week, while it still is early in the season, we can still see that continue and still see Auston Matthews at a great pace. Now, for Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, have only played 2 games so far in this NHL season. For the first week, of course, they started their season with a global series, so they obviously had a disadvantage there because they played so less games, and only 2 games in this season so far. I think that's one of the least games that any team has played. So again, some small sample sizes for the Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, but so far he's been great. I think he had 3 points so far, and of course that goal versus Boston was straight filthy. But let me just give you guys a little bit of a stat in case you're wondering, is Auston Matthews actually better than Connor McDavid? Now, of course, I'm going to pull up a stat here in the last couple of years. Now, bear in mind, Auston Matthews has missed some time. Connor McDavid in the last couple of years has been pretty healthy, so you got to imagine that. For Auston Matthews, though, and Connor McDavid, the points in the last couple of years have not been so close. In the NHL, when we look at 5v5 points since 2016, since 2017, you have Connor McDavid at #1 with 136 in the NHL. Of course, in the last couple of years, he's been straight lethal throughout the whole NHL, and even strength, he's been a monster. And for Auston Matthews, he's 7th on that list with 91. Now, of course, Auston Matthews has missed some time due to injury, especially last season, where he missed about 20 games. But still, he is not up there with Connor McDavid, and points-wise, he doesn't really compete. And while certainly Auston Matthews has superstar talent, Connor McDavid has franchise talent. Connor McDavid has undeniable best player on earth talent, and he's already shown that in the NHL, and he's already established that in the NHL. Auston Matthews has shown himself to be top 5 talent, maybe even top 3 for a couple of years so far, but Auston Matthews has been fantastic. But Connor McDavid, I think, has just been straight better, especially in the points, but even in the skills and what he's bringing. So if you're really riding the Auston Matthews train, if you're really on board with Auston Matthews being the best player in the world right now, you really have 2 arguments. One, of course, he missed some time in the last few years due to injury, and 2, his lethal start beginning this season. Now, for the injury argument, yes, he did miss about 20 games last season. For Auston Matthews, that was a big blow to his season. He was about a point per game, and who knows if he played the whole year, how many points he would have gotten. And for, of course, the other argument, you got how well he's played this season, which obviously he's been the best player so far. So in that case, you do have a point that Auston Matthews has been the best player so far in this season. But again, Connor McDavid hasn't had the chance really to catch up with any other players. But again, when we look at these 2 players, there's only arguments for Auston Matthews. There's no real facts that say, oh, Auston Matthews is better than Connor McDavid. It's all Connor McDavid, and so far he's shown himself to be the best player in the league for the last few years. And Auston Matthews, while he's been fantastic, has just not lived up to Connor McDavid. I don't think he really was expected to anyways. I don't think that there was really an argument for Auston Matthews in the begin with, and while Auston Matthews is a fantastic player, don't get me wrong, I feel like Connor McDavid is just on a whole nother level to where he is just dominant. For any other player involved, everybody knows that he's the best. And honestly, I think the only reason this is being brought up is because of how he's doing so far in this NHL season. And I think that's the only reason why this question is being brought up of if Auston Matthews is better. And to be honest, yes, he has shown it this season so far in these 5 games that he's played. But again, this is early. We're still only in the first week of the season. And so far, again, Connor McDavid has only played 2 games and has not gotten the opportunity to match that. But don't get me wrong, I love Auston Matthews. He's probably my favorite player on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and probably one of my favorite players in the Eastern Conference. I love what he's been doing. I love what he's been making goaltenders just confused for. He's just been so good in this NHL season, and for right now, I think he is the obvious MVP frontrunner right now. But again, for the best player in the world, I just don't see that. Auston Matthews has just proven so much already that he's the most dominant player in the NHL, that he can make any defensive core look like pansies, and so far he's been fantastic in his NHL career, and while Auston Matthews, of course, has been that as well, I don't think he can match up to Connor McDavid and what he's been able to bring. Now, of course, I love Auston Matthews, I love Connor McDavid. They're both 2 fantastic players, and likely 2 top 3 players for a few years, and of course, in the future, it's looking bright for both of them. So while I think Auston Matthews has solidified himself as a top 10 center, probably solidified himself as a top 10 player in the league right now, I just don't see him stacking up to a guy like Connor McDavid, who has proven to be better than a guy like Sidney Crosby so early in his career. But it is going to be really interesting to see throughout the next few years how this conversation goes on if Auston Matthews really gets compared to Connor McDavid and if they actually battle and get compared for the next few years. Again, I still think that Connor McDavid is hands down the better player so far, but again, the conversation might still be there for the next few years, especially if Auston Matthews continues to tear it up. But so far, in both of their careers, I just think that the argument is just not there for Auston Matthews. I think just Connor McDavid has shown too much so far, has proved too much so far, that Auston Matthews has yet to. Again, this next season could be a huge breakout year for Auston Matthews to really solidify himself as a top 5 player. But for right now, Connor McDavid has done that already, and for that reason alone, I think he's already better and has been the best player in the league for the last couple of years. But I also want to hear from you guys. Again, to me, in my opinion, I think Connor McDavid is the much better player and the best player in the world right now. But your opinion may be different. Do you think Auston Matthews is better than Connor McDavid? What arguments do you have for him? And if you think that, let me know why. If you like Connor McDavid more, of course, we already have the obvious reasons. But that's what for you guys. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe again. Tell me below what you think about this whole situation. Does Auston Matthews get to be compared with Connor McDavid? And of course, who do you think is better? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.